Hey, YearThe listeners, find us on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Every subscribe, like, and follow goes a long way, and I can't thank you all enough for your support. And with that, let's get into today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to YearThe. It's your host Alexandra, and today we have Brooke Nuneviller joining us to share her incredible journey from being a 3-time All-American at the University of Oregon and the only player in Pac-12 history to record over 1,500 kills and over 2,000 digs, playing professionally for the Omaha Supernovas, where she was named the 2025 PVF Outside Hitter of the Year. Brooke has also competed for Team USA and has been a part of the exciting rise of professional volleyball in the United States through both Athletes Unlimited and the Professional Volleyball Federation, and now Major League Volleyball, which we'll get into. So with that, Brooke Nuneviller, welcome to YearThe.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Thank you for being here. So I do want to start with the Mizuno announcement. I feel like we have to start with that. So congratulations. And I want to hear about what this part, I love it. I love it. I should have worn mine too. I don't have any of it. I have all of it.
All the signs.
What does this partnership mean to you? And can you give us a background on the process of becoming a Mizuno athlete and what comes with committing to that?
Yeah, for sure. So it actually happened really quickly. I signed with a marketing agent back about a year ago, Bill Sanders. He's the best. And, he's been working really hard. I think one of the big things for an athlete is to get, that shoe deal and that sports brand that you get to work and connect with. And that takes a lot of time. And so he was just working behind the scenes and doing all the undercover work. And then he would bring me the deals. And I think when Mizuno got brought up into the picture, it was just kind of like a full circle moment for me. Like you said, I've played with USA Volleyball for a while, whether it was with their youth programs or with their senior national team. And it's just been a brand that we've always represented through that program. And so it's something I was super comfortable with, something that I was used to. I would wear their gear all the time working out. And when they came into the picture, I was like, oh, this would be perfect. It's some brand that represents volleyball super, super well and just gives them the recognition they deserve, gives their product the recognition it deserves. And so they're also open to a lot of collaboration with me, which was super important when I was picking a brand. And so, it was something that 8, 9-year-old me when I was first starting volleyball would not have dreamed of, but a full circle moment for sure. Very grateful.
It's amazing. So do you just pretty much represent them? Is that the commitment towards it, or is there anything else you have to do?
Yeah, it's really some social posts here and there, some photo shoot work with them, just wearing their product, which is no problem for me. Because like I said, even when I was just doing lifts or anything in the off season, I would always catch myself going back to the USA gear that I was given. It was just so comfortable and something that I just always would go towards even when I wasn't representing them. But yeah, so it's representing their product, wearing it all the time when you're training, wearing their shoes when you're competing, and giving them some love on the socials. But all of that stuff is really easy. And the fact that I get paid for that is crazy, but it's amazing. It's an awesome partnership.
I will never forget, in high school, I have a Mizuno rep that came to my house and fitted me and everything. And it just was a standout situation. So I think that's really awesome. I'm so happy for you. You deserve it.
Thank you.
So yeah. You went to Oregon and you were recruited as an outside, but then played libero and had kind of transitioned back. Can you talk about changing positions? And those are 2 drastic positions and kind of what came with that.
So when I talked about, I'm going to say this on the podcast. Sorry if I keep adjusting my ears. My headphones are going to fall out. But I went back and forth a lot of the times between the 2 positions my whole career. When I was playing, whether it was club, high school, middle school, whatever it was, I was always an outside hitter. But then when I would compete with USA Volleyball, I was always a libero. Maybe there was 1 or 2 summers that was an exception. I think I was just really used to, really from the age of 11 years old, switching back and forth between those 2 positions. And so when I got to college and I was going through my recruiting process, a lot of those decisions came from, or just a big part that played into it was what position are they recruiting me as? So University of Oregon, I knew that it would be tough for me to get on the court as an outside my freshman year, but I knew Matt would give me the opportunity my sophomore year and so on to compete for an outside hitter's position. And that was really important for me. So I think I was something I was kind of comfortable with before getting into college, but when I got there, like, being a full-time libero was kind of the first time I'd ever done that, and then transitioning back to outside hitter after, like, taking a year off jumping, that was really tough for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet. And I feel like outside too, no matter what level you're at, it's like one of the
Mhm.
hardest positions to get into, club and high school, and then obviously going to college, you're competing with so many more. But I think it's interesting to default to another position in order to fulfill that other role. And so
Mhm.
many people are so set on, okay, I'm only going to play this position. But really, if you have other tools in your toolbox of other areas, then it can open up even more opportunities like yours, for example.
Mm.
Just like not letting the 1 year stop you of playing a different role, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and it almost did. Like, that was probably one of the toughest times because when I was a sophomore in college, I was not a good outside hitter. Like, I was a bad volleyball player, and people thought, like,
My
it was a
gosh.
seamless transition for me, like, getting back into
Yeah.
outside hitter, but, like, it really took me a full year to get comfortable, like, jumping, get more honestly, like, I lost a little bit of athleticism just not jumping and transitioning and doing those things all the time, and I also took a lot of pride in, like, what was going into my body outside of the court, like food and just nutrition and diet things that I wasn't as conscientious of my freshman year. So there's a lot of like lifestyle changes that I did my sophomore year to like make me a lot better and more successful in the later part of my college career. But no, that was definitely tough. And there was a lot of moments where I was like, oh, maybe I should just go back to libero. But I'm very happy I didn't. I had a good support system on my back to push me through. And Matt Ulmer was like the head Oregon coach at the time, was one of the best people that just said, "No, you can do it," like, and gave me every opportunity.
And on that, like, nutrition topic, can you give, like, some insight on what that like, what those changes were specifically? Like, was it just more protein intake? Was it just really
Mhm.
understanding what, when you were eating, like, what did that even look like?
I think, like, I I could get away with a lot when I was in high school of
Yeah.
really just eating whatever, and I had, like, such a crazy high metabolism, like, I could eat as much as I want and as bad as I wanted in high school, and it really wouldn't affect my body, and then I
Yeah.
think really as soon as I got to college my freshman year, like, I continued to do that, and it just caught up to me eventually, and I think, like, I gained that, like, freshman 15, and then as a jumper going into your sophomore year, that definitely did not help me, and so then I really was like, "Okay, if I wanna be a successful outside, like, I need to make some sort of change and get really fit and, start jump higher, hit harder, and catch up to these, like, 6'2", 6'3" players." So I think, like, some of those changes were I learned how to cook and, like, I really enjoyed knowing, like, exactly what was going into my body. I think, like, I would eat out a ton my freshman year and in high school, and then really my sophomore year, I was like, "Okay, we're cooking everything," and we would just even I think something that's hard for me even today, it's like I have these cravings and I want these sweet things, but it's like I learned how to have these cravings and find a recipe and then just alter it a little bit to make it healthier, and so then I started to do that consistently. I would say, like, by the time I was a junior, senior in college, it became, like, a really easy part of my routine and something I really enjoyed doing. I really think, like, just cooking your own food and knowing exactly what's going into your body and just being a little more, like, conscious of it, because I really wasn't conscious of it at all.
That's so true. Because like, right now, I so default to eating out, and I can tell, you
Mhm,
just feel the difference, and
mhm,
it's really worth taking that time of, like, finding the right things. When you were training too, did you realize strength training or cardio was more beneficial for
mhm.
adjusting from a libero position to an outside hitter position?
For sure, and that was I mean, I would say food is probably, like, the biggest thing. I think, like, a lot
Yeah.
of people you'll hear today, like, you'll see, like, results in the kitchen first before, like you can't just work out, like, as much as you want and eat whatever you want. Like, some people can
Yeah.
maybe, but most people can't. So I would say, like, it starts with what you're eating every day, but then, obviously, you need to be, like, training and pushing really hard. So anytime I was in the weight
Yeah.
room, I would work really hard. I'd lift as much weight as possible. We had a really good strength coach at the University of Oregon, Jim Radcliffe. He's awesome. And he's super old school, but a lot of the things he does just makes you into a complete athlete as a whole. And that's something I really appreciated. So I think like pushing myself in the weight room there. But I think, yeah, as a libero on the outside, you're going to be doing some different exercises. I think a lot of things that I'm focusing on now, I can't speak as much of a libero because I haven't been a libero for a super long time, but as an outside, like I'm doing a lot of quick twitch things. I'm doing a lot of like explosive single leg things that would just help like with vertical or just moving really quickly on the court or just getting off the ground quick. Band exercises. I don't know. I really like to do a lot of different workouts and activities. And I just think like the better you can move and the better athlete you are as a whole, like, just the better you're gonna perform.
Yeah, and it's like a muscle memory thing too. So like if you're playing like if your body's used to moving in a libero way versus like jumping
Mhm,
all the time, it just makes such a difference. I'm really appreciative of you sharing that it was difficult, because some people
mhm.
look at like it from the outside it looks easy or easier.
No.
And from your perspective, it's like, nope, the hard work is still there, to get that position and role that I
Mhm,
want. Did you have other like offers for college and an outside hitter position that you thought of, or was
mhm.
this like the main like you weren't even questioning where you were gonna head?
No, I had always liked playing outside more than libero, but I
Yeah.
think so many people told me growing up, like, you could be, an Olympic libero, you could do these things. You can't really do these things as an outside. Sometimes I would start to believe it a little bit. Not enough,
Yeah.
obviously, to make a decision at the end of the day, but I think comments like that get to you. And so the majority of my college offers, especially at the highest level, like those Wisconsins, Washington, Stanford at the time, like they were all recruiting me as a libero. And so a lot of those, I actually, when I was in fifth grade, I asked my mom, what is the best academic school and what is the best volleyball school in the country? And she said Stanford. And so when I was in fifth grade, I was like, all right, like that was the school that I wanted to go to. I probably started getting recruited by them, their previous coaching staff, John Dunning and Denise Corlett, when I was a freshman in high school. I think they came and watched me play and maybe sent me my first email and I went on a visit there. It was a little bit nowadays it's different with recruiting. Nowadays you have to be a junior, I think, before you commit. But back then, like eighth graders were committing. And
Wow.
but at Stanford, you couldn't commit to the university till you actually got admitted academically for volleyball. So I would visit the university, and for freshman, sophomore, junior year, I would tell schools, like I would visit Oregon, I'd visit Wisconsin, and I'm like I really, really love your school. Like you're like my number two, my number three, but I'm waiting to get into Stanford. And then
Yeah.
I think a big, big decision. I was with really pretty full all in with Stanford with John Dunning as their coach. And then he retired kind of unexpectedly. I'm like, okay, like, are you going to be around when I'm first going there? And he's like, yeah, like I have no plans on retiring. But then they won a national championship. And I think he was like, oh, now it's my time. So I was a junior in high
Yeah.
school right before I applied, and he retired and some scholarship numbers changed a little bit. And I think like Matt Ulmer had just gotten the head coaching position at the University of Oregon. And he gave me the opportunity to become an outside hitter that Stanford wouldn't have, Wisconsin wouldn't have, or Washington. And so I was just something that like he had so much faith in me and he saw a vision that I could fit into that program and help them be successful as an outside. And it was just something that was really appealing to me. And I think I'd always had a high opinion of him because I had been with him a couple times with USA Volleyball, and he got that position. And I visited the University of Oregon and I just like fell in love with it there. And so I think I committed a few days after that visit. And it was like a week like difference of opinion. I switched what I wanted to do really quickly, but yeah, he was like one of like a few schools that gave me an opportunity to hit. I think like BYU was another one. I love their program. Heather does an amazing job there. Florida State, but yeah, there was really not a ton of like Power 5 schools that were like, "Yeah, we want you to come hit for us." It was mostly libero at the time.
And I think that's so important too, though, is to like feel it out yourself and make that decision of what feels right depending on
Mhm.
what you want to do, because it does change the next, 3 to 4 years of your life, which
Mhm.
is impactful. And, people are like, oh, it's a dream to play in college, which it is. It's a dream to get a
Mhm.
scholarship and fulfill what you love. But you have to be happy at the end of the day and you have to choose the right program and the right school and everything associated. There's so many factors associated with it. So
Mhm.
I'm glad you went with your gut and it clearly paid off. And so you got a Bachelor of Science in 3 years, which is
Mhm.
like crazy while playing volleyball, and you played beach and you did a master's program. So like how did you navigate all of that while navigating full-time student athlete life? I feel like
Yeah.
it's cool to have beach in college as well.
That was another big thing when I was looking at universities. I loved beach volleyball growing up, and so I really, like,
Yeah.
wanted to be able to play in college. So, Oregon had a new beach program at the time, and so I was like, "Oh, that would be awesome, like, I can play for them." And I only ended up playing beach in college for 2 years, but yeah, I think that was the perk of, like, planning on going to Stanford for my first 3 years of high school is that I'm taking these, like, dual enrollment classes and AP classes, and I had all of this college credit going into college. So I think I was, like, a year and a half ahead. Like, I was halfway through my sophomore year technically when I got to the University of Oregon. So that, like, allowed me to complete 2.5 years in a 3-year time span. So it was like, it sounds really impressive when it's like, "Oh, you got your bachelor's degree in 3 years," but I had a ton of credits going in, so it made it pretty
Yeah.
easy. And yeah, beach was just something I always wanted to do. So my freshman year, I got to compete and then took a couple years off. I think COVID season, I think I was planning on playing my junior year of college and then COVID happened. And then I think like we all went home and just I didn't
Yeah.
end up playing that year. But I got to play my senior year and that was really fun too. And then yeah, I think because we got that extra COVID year, I was like, may as well get a master's. So I just got interdisciplinary masters in journalism and management. And it was pretty easy, honestly. Like it sounds impressive, but it was like solid classes. I think like the way that my academic advisor set it up, it was pretty easy.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's worth it to have the extra
Yeah.
credential, too, and to be able to play still. Did they care about you playing beach, like on top of, playing normal volleyball there, or did it not really
Mm,
matter? Like they weren't too worried?
the beach coaches wanted me to play beach. Matt was like, "Yeah, whatever you want." But when I played beach my senior year, I would practice indoor in the morning and then I'd go practice beach in the afternoon. So I think like I was in crazy, crazy shape that year. I'm
Yeah.
doing like two to three workouts a day, depending on like if I'm lifting or not that day. And then on top of classes, I mean, those were a little bit tough. But I think when I was doing both, like Matt and the beach coach, Jason and Janice at the time, they were pretty like good about if you need a break, like take a break.
Yeah.
But
Like
yeah,
what's
I
best for
enjoyed it.
you.
I enjoyed it so much. Like I love working out now. I think like I didn't used to I'm like, "Oh, we're lifting," but now it's like my body just feels so good like when I'm doing a lot of different workouts and I love seeing how that relays like to my volleyball game too, what I'm doing outside of the court.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's so healthy. Like, I know it's hard to get into if you're out of working out, but like
Mhm.
once you get in a grind, it's like your body's craving it. And it's
Mhm.
just, I don't know, it's an incredible feeling and I can relate. And do they like give scholarships separately for beach, or is it kind of like people commit for one or the other
So I'm
at Oregon?
now like at Oregon specifically, I think they just got scholarship money. I think like within the last like year or two with like the NIL money with colleges, like I
Mm,
think
yeah.
Oregon got some beach money. I don't think there was any when I was there. So then you would see like a
Yeah.
lot of the indoor players like going and playing beach too. We definitely had a few beach only
That's cool.
girls that helped us a ton. But yeah, we didn't have any money when I was there. I think they got some now. And then I think like across the country, like you're seeing more money to beach programs with
Yeah.
NIL.
Well, and it's so new. Like even men's teams are like it's just so new. Like I
Mhm.
went to Michigan State and we don't have like a beach volleyball program,
Mhm.
which I mean we're in the Midwest, so it's cold, but like still, it's
Mhm.
just such a cool dynamic. Like I don't know, I would have loved for them to have something like that because so many
Mhm.
amazing volleyball players would be able to fulfill their passion of beach if they're into it. So
Yeah, for sure.
it's cool that you got that opportunity. And then you represented Team USA at various
Mhm.
levels from like the youth national team to the senior national team. How does one even get into like the youth national team and how do
Mhm.
you progress to where you ended up?
I was in that pipeline for a very long time. That's what they like to call it.
Yeah.
So I started with high performance camps when I was 10 years old, I want to say. And I was with USA Volleyball every summer after that. Even when I first tried out, I was like 10 or 11 at the time. It was like A1 was the highest level you could be, and that had like 100 people. And then there's A2, A3, and like, I think maybe that was it at that age. But my first tryout, I made A2, and I remember telling my mom, like, "Oh, I don't wanna go to A2, like, I didn't make the top 1," and she's like, "No, just go, like, get some training," and so I ended up going, made some good friends there, had a blast, and then the next year I tried out, and then I made A1, and then was with A1 for a couple years, and I think when you turn about, like, 15, 16 is when you try out for the youth national team, and
Okay.
that was, like, extremely selective roster, especially as a libero. Almost every USA roster that you see at any level, you're gonna only see 1 libero, maybe 2
Okay.
on the roster. So, when I was a part of the youth national team, I'm like, "Ugh, I don't know if I'll be able to make this roster." Like, they only take 1, and I'm competing against, all the best girls in my age group, and I was lucky enough, I got made that roster. I made the next year's roster, and every single year after, I was on every youth national team, junior national team, college, and then I was lucky enough to train with the senior national team too. And yeah, it's crazy that I can say that I was the libero on all those rosters because I was just so grateful every time. I remember the first year that I made the roster with the youth national team, I was like, "What?" Like, I remember looking when I was like 12 or 13 at the girls that were above me at the 1 or 2 liberos that made those rosters. I'm like, "Oh, they're amazing. Like, they're so good." Like, I could only dream of getting there one day, and then I made that roster and I kept making it, and yeah, very honored for my USA journey so far. It's been I honestly look back at it and I like am just so grateful for every opportunity, and I hope there's more in the future, but yeah, we'll see.
Did a lot of those players like move up with you, or was it cutthroat enough where you pretty much were having new teammates throughout that whole time?
Definitely new teammates at the time, but there was a solid like 3 or 4 of us that made a lot of the rosters. Like Logan Eggleston was one of them, Skylar Fields, Kendall Kipp, LMA Powell. Those were all girls that I played with a ton.
When you make the senior team, can you tell our listeners a little bit about that level?
So you make if you're on a senior national team roster, every single year there's a Volleyball Nations League roster, VNL, and VNL is a annual tournament, global tournament that they have. I don't want to misspeak about this. I think there's 4 locations every single year. And basically you'll go to the location, you'll play a few teams, and then you'll go to the next location, and then hopefully you'll make the top 8 by the last one, and then you'll play in like a quarter semifinal, hopefully. But that's called Volleyball Nations League. I want to say that's a 30-man roster around there, and I made that roster when I was 23, I think, as a libero. And it was a libero slash outside. I think if you look at the roster, I was outside. I was training outside for like 2 or 3 weeks. And then most of the rest of the summer, I was a libero. And I think like I was kind of getting tired of the transition between going to play libero for a few months and then like feeling out of shape when I'm going to play professionally as an outside. I think I've made the decision not to go back to that libero position. And so I would love to like make my way back in that gym as an outside hitter if I can prove myself. But like I said, I was mostly in the USA gym as a libero, and I'm trying to like pursue that outside dream. So, but yeah, so
As you
you have
should.
you have the Volleyball Nations League roster, and then there's a halfway point between the summer around like end of July where they'll separate that 30-man roster into 2 15 groups. And then the top 15 will go and play in like maybe a world championship or a NORCECA Final Six. And then the bottom will play in like a Pan Am and there's another NORCECA tournament that they'll play in. But I was on that second group in 2023, I think.
That's amazing. This just popped in my head, but like, do you play all the way around when you are an outside because of your amazing passing? Like, do they take
Yeah.
advantage of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's something that like separates me as an outside. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be one of the best passers on the court and one of the best defenders because of that libero experience, and also just because 'cause I've been playing volleyball for so, so long, and I think, like, tying into, like, that beach volleyball side of it, like, I really think beach volleyball, it helps improve, like, your all-around game so much, and I played beach so much growing up, and so that was definitely a benefit, but, yeah, I think I'm helpful to a lot of teams because they can have their big, big point scoring outside that doesn't necessarily have to be like an amazing passer. And then me and the libero can take up a lot of court, and we can keep us in system most of the time and keep balls off the ground defensively. And then also like my attacking and my block keeps getting better. And I think like the more I improve of that, like the more opportunities I'll get to compete at higher and higher levels.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you guys play at such a fast pace too. It's like you are just consistently learning the new reading of every team that you play, and it's just a whole different dynamic. You can get comfortable at certain levels to a point, but it's always a new experience. So that's
Mhm,
amazing to hear, though, that you still are, looking to improve in those ways, no matter the amazing
mhm.
level you're at. And then you went to Athletes Unlimited for 2 seasons. So for those that don't know, AU's has a completely different format than traditional volleyball. There's like redrafts of the teams every week, but it's the same players, and individual scoring matters, which is so interesting to a team dynamic. So can you tell us your experience on that versus playing volleyball your whole life in a different way? And did you like it? Did you maybe like it temporarily? What were your
Mhm.
thoughts on that structure?
Honestly, that's a really I've been playing volleyball. This is now going on like my 20th year next year. And so I started when I was 6 and I'm almost 26 now, and it's been like such a long time that sometimes I think like now that I'm a professional, I've become better at like finding specific things that like keep me super engaged in the sport, but like becomes repetitive after a while, it's like the same thing over and over again. And you have to like
Yeah.
find different ways to like really stay engaged always and never like be complacent. And I think like
Mhm.
with Athletes Unlimited, because it's such a different style of volleyball that you've ever played before, it keeps it so entertaining and fun and loose. And there's There's just not, like, a ton of pressure when you're there. I mean, there's a lot of, like, emphasis on this leaderboard and these individual points that you can get based on stats, but at the end of the day, like, you're just playing volleyball and you get to play that at an extremely high level and just a little bit less, like, restrictions. So it just keeps, like it keeps it fun, and so it's like a different style. It's like, I don't wanna call it a break because it's still competitive and it's still a season, but it's like, it's kinda like keeps your mind free, and then you get to ramp up into your other season. So I do enjoy it a lot. I think the people that are involved in Athletes Unlimited do such a fantastic job bringing in one, like crazy high level athletes. We had so many national team members and Olympians this year, not only from the States, but like all around the world. And then also just like the people that they're bringing in are amazing too. So you're just having a great time competing with your friends. And like I said, like a very different style of volleyball that keeps it fun.
It's like a refreshing change of pace, maybe,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be like a whole long-term thing. But, and then you said like even the culture aspect of being a good dynamic of those people that are part of it. So it doesn't really matter who's on your team or not. Everybody's there for the same reasons. And I think that's
Hmm.
pretty cool. Thank you for sharing that. I do want to pivot to the Omaha Supernovas. You were
Hmm.
part of the inaugural PVF championship team in 2024, and you just won this year Outside Hitter of the Year for 2025. How was the switch back to a
Hmm.
different volleyball dynamic and in this historic rise of professional volleyball for women in the United States in general?
I'm so proud to be like a part of the start of this. A lot of people like ask me, they're like you're gonna look back in like 10 or 15 years and like people are gonna be getting a lot more recognition and paid more. And I'm like, no, like I'm gonna be very proud to like be the start of something. It's really like I just take a lot of responsibility for that. And it's something that I want to do. And I think I've told so many people this, but when I was like 10 years old and I wanted to watch people that are playing overseas or professionally in the volleyball world, it's like you have to go find this like little link that's on like a website that like redirects you to all these places. And it just really wasn't accessible. Like when you would turn the regular channels on TV and ESPN or whatever sports channel, you would see, the Tom Brady's of the world and Kobe Bryant's and a lot of male dominated professional athletes. And so the fact that like we get to be on those channels now and we get to be these role models for these young volleyball girls that aspire to be something professionally one day, it's really cool. And it's not something that I had. And so I take like a lot of pride in that. So the Omaha Supernovas, I think, is like a really prime example of a organization that exemplifies that as well. Like they really do so much for the sport, and I think Omaha in general and the state of Nebraska has such an amazing, incredible volleyball fan base. But I think it still takes like a lot of work to bring people and fill people into seats and get people to cheer for a completely new sports team. And like
Mhm.
from day one, like the Supernovas have had that support system because of the staff that's just taking so much time and going to like grocery stores and farmers markets and marketing and like saying, come watch this new pro team. And like I said, from game one, it's like we had like 9 or 10,000 people in the seats and we're averaging over 10,000 after season two. So it's like really been something that I not a single day have taken for granted. And just not something I would have even dreamed would have been possible even like my senior year of college.
It is way overdue. And like you said, all the little girls out there one day will be so grateful that you guys are all paving this path. I mean, I remember being so little though and watching beach volleyball on the Olympics.
Mhm.
I always was confused on why women's professional volleyball wasn't a bigger thing until now, but I'm just grateful that it has that foundation. And can you tell me a little bit about the P1440 Foundation? It's a foundation co-founded by Carrie Walsh Jennings, focused on beach volleyball specifically. What is your connection to that?
That's been something that's been so incredible for me because, like you said, I think when we were that age and we were watching volleyball on TV, like most of the time it was beach volleyball. So, like, I think a couple of my role models in the sport, like, were like Misty May and Carrie Walsh. And
Mhm.
so when I got to be connected with Carrie really this year, I was like, this is so cool. Like, and I told her that I'm like, you were one, like, I followed your whole career. You were such an amazing athlete that I got to look up to. And now I get to like call her a friend. And so I get to work with her now with P1440. And basically, it's a organization that provides opportunities for young athletes that just don't have access to the sport of volleyball. And it really, because it was co-founded by Carrie, like she is obviously in the beach volleyball world and it started really with beach volleyball and giving kids access to that sport. And now that I get to work with them, we're trying to like bring the indoor side of that as well. And I think That's just something that's so cool. Like, I want every single child out there, anyone that wants access to the sport of volleyball to be able to have it. And if I can do anything to help, that's really incredible. So, yeah, I started working with them a couple months ago. It's been amazing. I also get to pick organization to work with Athletes Unlimited, like a nonprofit. And so I already had that connection with P1440. So I got to work with them with Athletes Unlimited too. And yeah, it's been an amazing partnership. They just do a great job and they're really going to help the sport of volleyball. And the fact that I get to be a part of that, it's amazing. They do have a scholarship opportunity. They have two different sides. There's a nonprofit and a profit side. They also will help beach volleyball players, I'm pretty sure through scholarships to give them more access to like the college side of it too, and just to give them more exposure. But yeah, and then they'll like Carrie will run like a clinic with kids in like the South Bay or just somewhere, I think specifically in Southern California is where they're doing most of their work, just like a free clinic, and Carrie gets to be there and coach and help kids. And so I think we've talked about that a little bit, if I can like show up to some of those things, but it gets kind of hard when season starts, but hopefully I get to get more involved in that.
Oh, that's amazing. It's a dream to help
Mhm.
others. Thank you for sharing that. I want to touch on your overseas experience a little bit. Most people went overseas to play professionally. So you spent a season in Turkey. What was that experience like, and how different is it from volleyball here?
I'm so grateful to have that experience. I think like I've gotten to relate, even I was only over there for a little less than 5 months. So a full season overseas is 9 months. And I was there for about half after I graduated in December of 22. But I get to relate to a lot of people that have been overseas still. Like, I think there's a lot of people that are now coming back from playing overseas and getting to play in the States now. And like, they have all these stories and things. And I'm grateful that I have that experience and things just to like talk to them about it and just to have like a comparison too with the leagues that are happening in the States now. But it's definitely different, like a very different style that they'll play. A lot of these players, I think like in the States, something that I don't love about just club volleyball and high school and even college is the amount of substitutions that we have here. And because of that, a lot of these kids are growing up and they're in these like specialized roles, right? Like an outside
Yeah.
hitter doesn't necessarily have to play back row because we have so many substitution options, and we'll have a DS go back row for them, or we'll have a 6-2. Like, that's not a thing overseas. And so they grow
Huh.
up and they have six substitutions. You can only go in and out one time for a person. And so a lot of these players are like growing up and they've been playing since they're 10 years old and they're playing every single position and they're working on all these skills. And so they're just like amazing, like all around players. And so I think it takes like the United States a little bit of time to like catch up to that because they have been doing it for such a long time. But I think our physicality like allows us to still stay competitive until, we're reaching that professional and Olympic level. Then, we're dominating a lot of the time, which is amazing. But like I said, like their overall game's awesome. I think the language barrier too, like when I was in Turkey, most of my teammates spoke English. There was a few of them that didn't really speak any English, and just like living in a foreign country, the area I was in Turkey, probably like 10 to 20% of people spoke English. So you're learning a few
Okay.
Turkish words and trying to get around there. But I had an amazing experience. My teammates were awesome. We exceeded expectations as a team. We were like one seed away from getting relegated to the second level division previous year. And then the year that I was there, we finished fifth out of 14 teams, I believe, in the Super League. And so everyone was happy. Our
Wow.
president was happy. Our coach was happy. But yeah, no, I had an awesome experience. The area I was in was amazing. The Turkish people treated the foreigners with so much love and respect. And so no complaints about my experience. I'm glad I got it, but I'm also like very, very grateful and happy to be home and building a professional league here.
How do you even decide where to go? How does that come about? Do they just reach out to you, or was it something that you're looking for?
The first step is typically signing with an agent. And so
Okay.
I was talking with a ton of agents the last couple months of my senior year. And I ended up signing with Stefano Bartocci, who lives in Italy, and he's an Italian agent. And he's done like a fantastic job for me getting all my overseas contracts and negotiating now with the leagues in the States. But that's the first step.
I
And
love that.
then they kind of give you more information too about the teams, and they'll do all the dirty work for you. But I think another big step is talking with just professional players that have that experience. Like if you're planning on going to play in a certain league or a certain team, it's like
Mhm.
there's going to be someone from the States that has already gone and played there too. So you can go reach out to them via Instagram, or anyone that's listening to this. If you have any professional questions, like please message me and I'll try to help.
Yeah.
I ended up messaging like Carly Lloyd. I was talking to an Italian team at the time. I'm like, oh, what's your experience here? And then there's a ton of people on our national team that played in Turkey. So I think a lot of people in the volleyball community are very open to helping you, because it's so new. Even now, like that we have the opportunities in the States, like it's still so new here. And then you really don't know anything about the overseas lifestyle until you're talking to people.
Yeah, connections are everything, and you don't know till you know. A dream isn't too far of a reach. So, and then with playing volleyball for so long, I give you so much credit in the first place because I feel like our body is just wear and tear over time. Obviously, you're set up for better success when you make it to professional or college levels, especially, and getting that support and maintenance. But how did you, like, have you had any injuries? How did you manage keeping your body to the point where it is now, especially as an outside hitter, you're swinging over and over? How do you manage that?
I've had a ton of injuries, but mostly like lower body and ankle injuries. We did a ton of like rehab things and stuff in college. If you want, like your trainer will help you. But with me, like a lot of my injuries have been sprained ankles. So I have chronic tendon damage in my right ankle, and my left ankle is not much better. I've probably significantly sprained my ankles 9 or 10 times in my career. So just a lot of ankle problems with me. And I think like that just takes a lot of like band exercises and strengthening things and just staying on top of that like that. And then there's going to be like chronic things like tendonitis, or I don't know. I think a lot of volleyballs have like shin splints or Achilles problems. And it's just like, how can you best manage that? I think in college, like you're so young and you can get away with not going to the treatment room much, but the older you get and the longer you want to play, like go and take advantage of those tools that you have at an early age. I think like the Supernovas has a ton of access to things that we had in college, but if you were going overseas after you go to like a university that is spoiling you, like you're not getting even half of the things that you got in college. So just take advantage of everything while you have it. And hopefully like all the professional teams are going to get everything that you had at universities, but you just never know.
I'm going to take that advice for my ankle. I'm going to go start doing some band work. I do have some last fun questions as we're finishing. What college teams are you following right now?
Ooh, I mean, I have to say the Ducks, obviously.
Fair.
Spent 5 seasons there. And then now that I'm in Omaha for the last few years, like the University of Nebraska is just such a fun team to watch. And I think like we try to do a lot of our, general manager, president, they like to keep like those Nebraska girls in the state, even though we've only had 3 seasons now, but like that's a goal. Like they have so much talent. So we want to lead them to the Supernovas. I mean, they're 12-0 now in conference. I don't know if they've lost a set in conference. They're fun to watch. They're just a very complete team. And then my coach at the University of Oregon was Matt Ulmer, and now he's at Kansas. And so I am going to, and our staff there too. Erica Dillard is there as well. She was my assistant coach. And I have so much love and respect for that staff. And so I'm going to follow them wherever they go. So I've watched Kansas quite a bit too.
I love it. Who's going to win the national championship?
Oh, I think like you have to look and say Nebraska is definitely the most dominant team by far right now. But I do think there's like a lot of talent. And so they got to stay focused if they want to win it. But I think like Kentucky is a really fun team to watch too. And you saw that like Kentucky-Nebraska match earlier in the year, and they went to 5, and it was so fun and exciting. And I think they have like the pieces too. Their outsides are fantastic and their defense is amazing. So I think honestly, like in the tournament, anyone can win in the last two or 3 matches. So I think if I were to give you an answer though, Nebraska is like the most dominant right now for sure.
That's fair. I'll take it. And then okay, on the cooking topic. So clearly you've been cooking. Is there a favorite signature dish that you go to make?
I eat a lot of like bowls and salads, like grain bowls or veggie bowls, like harvest bowls, acai bowls, yogurt bowls. I love a good bowl. I would say like, this is like just a really easy one, like bake some salmon in the oven. Like I make my own teriyaki sauce, put it on top with some broccoli. Actually, no broccoli for this recipe, but put it on some like cauliflower rice with some like edamame, everything but the bagel seasoning, and then get some like seaweed and like make little sushi rolls. That's like the best. I love sushi. That's like when I go out to eat, I'm going to get sushi.
I love sushi too. That's like the one thing I want all the time, and I don't Do you have, like, a go-to place where you live?
So Catch is one of my favorite restaurants, and they have sushi. They just opened up in Scottsdale. Shimagamo is like a hole in the wall here in Arizona.
Oh.
Azumi was a sushi place in Oregon. And then there's a place in Omaha that's called Yoshitomo. That's really, really good too.
Oh, I like it. What's your favorite roll then?
Ooh, I
I'm just running with
love
it.
yeah,
Just
I
tell
love
me.
tuna. Like a
Okay.
tuna with just like honestly, the older I get, like the more simple I want it. So like just like a
Yeah,
good tuna, avocado, like maybe some crab inside or something, but like cucumber,
I like it.
simple rolls, like really good quality fish.
Yeah, I love it. I like a tuna crab with some, like, mango sauce, like, some mango stuff, just
Yeah,
some, like,
that's good.
sweet touch on it, but I agree, the simpler the better. Best volleyball advice you've ever received from somebody?
I think like can't remember, like, there was a few people that told me this. I think my mom was, like, someone that always gave me great advice growing up, but no one can tell you you can't do something, like, and it to be true unless it's yourself. I think, like, there's so many people that are gonna tell you, like, you're not gonna be good enough to do things or you can't do something because of whatever reason, and as long as you don't tell yourself that, like, it doesn't have to be true. If you're just motivated and you're willing to put in whatever work necessary, I think you can really do whatever you set your mind to.
I love that. Yep, that's so true. And one more question for you. So when you look back in another 20 years, not that we're going to
Mhm.
age ourselves that quick, what do you hope you've built for the next generation of volleyball players?
I think the older that we get and, just watching the younger generation, I think some of the like passion and just like grind and love and like respect for the game. I'm not going to say it's gotten like completely lost, but I think it's just a little less than it was like if you look at the people that are older than me.
Yeah.
And so, like, I guess when I'm done playing, like, I hope to see that, like, just grind and, like, just love for the game grow. And, like,
Hmm.
I don't want there to be there's always going to be, like, entitlement and, people that are just, like, naturally gifted. But I want, like, people to just represent the sport just really, really well and, go for every single. I think that's why I like watching Nebraska so much. I think a lot of
Yeah.
them, they're just gritty players and they work really hard. You can tell that just like by the way they play. And so I think like I want to continue to see that side of the game. Like, no, like a ball's not touching the floor without a body on it. And like just this competitive spirit coming out of all these athletes. And so I hope like when people watch me play, like that's the legacy that I'm leaving behind, not like the numbers or awards or anything, but like, well, how are you playing
Yeah.
the game and like how are you making your teammates better and all these things? Because I think like there's some times where I'm watching and I'm like, "Oh, I just wish we could bring some of that back a little bit more." But there's definitely like a lot of teams and players that are representing that super well. So I hope they carry that on too.
You definitely do. You're such an amazing person. Like even you saying, anybody reach out to me on professional advice, like it's apparent, but I agree. And I actually like this is a complete side note, but I'd love your insight on it. I see all the time a bunch of high schoolers nowadays, like just always complaining about their coaches or like their team dynamics. And it's, they're talking about how it negatively impacts their
Mhm,
mental health. And I think it does tie to that like entitlement piece. But what do you think the like driver of that is these days? Because I see
mhm,
girls quitting all the time. Like, let's say they make JV as a junior and then could like
mhm.
start on varsity the next year. Or like you said, having a role, a position on a team that you might not want fully at the moment. Do you see that too?
Yeah, I mean, with me, I want to give a lot of credit to like the way I was raised. I think like the
Yeah.
coaches that I had and my parents, like
Yeah.
I think not being the tallest on the court and being a hitter and not being the most
Hmm.
physical, it's like I was always raised with the mindset of like, okay, well, what intangibles like can I have? Like how, like I said, how can you help your teammates out the most? How can you cheer the loudest for other people's successes? How can you, be the most energetic and just like the best leader on the court? So that was just something
Yeah.
that was, like, really instilled in me by my parents and a lot of my coaches. So I think, like, I hope, like I guess the parents, I mean, I think that it stems a lot from the parents, like, and so if, like, the girls that are now playing can have these kids and they can just, like, do a good job, and I
Yeah.
think, like, a lot of people and players now are great role models, and so if they can, like, instill that in their kids, then hopefully the sport will continue to get better. But I think, like, the more access that these players are having, like, with NIL and just the more privilege
Hmm.
they get, the harder it becomes, and that's just naturally what's gonna happen, and so I think, like yeah, I don't know. But that's the big question, right? How can you keep that, like, humility and just competitive spirit with, like, allowing these athletes to just have amazing things.
Yeah, no, I agree. Thanks for sharing that. I agree. I just was never felt that entitled, and I think my parents would have never let me be, and I think that's
Yeah,
part
yeah,
of it, and like they never stepped in or thought they had to say something to the coach. I appreciate you sharing that and
yeah.
everything you shared today with us. Well, thank you so much, Brooke, for joining YearsWhat this week. You've been incredible to speak with. And again, congratulations on the Mizuno and everything that is to come for you. And we're so lucky to have you here. And thank you, everybody, for listening in today. And we will see you next Wednesday.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.